and our house. And when the Lord asked me that, let me tell you what I said. Immediately I said, yes. Lord, I would love to give you everything. You gave me everything. Now, can I say something? I don't recommend this for everyone. I really don't. I'm not asking you to give everything. I would ask you to give everything God asked you to give. That's what you should do. And so I said, yes, Lord. So I sat down with Debbie. We decided where we'd give the money, where we'd give the cars, and we decided to give our house to a pastor that had 5 kids that didn't have a house. So we gave everything away. Now, it took several months for us to be able to distribute everything, but we did give everything away. And then the next day, I'm having my quiet time, and I was adding up how much I'd given. And it was the most I'd ever given at one time, and it was a lot. And I was adding it up in my mind, and the Lord said to me, what are you doing? I said, nothing. You know, because you know if you have a thought and you don't tell him, then he doesn't know. I'm joking. He knows, you know. So I said, nothing, Lord. He said, no, what are you thinking? And I had this thought in my mind, and so I said, well, Lord, it's not a good thought. I said, but I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm adding up all that I've given, and I said, you know that expression, you can't outgive God? And the Lord said, yeah, I've heard that. I said, I think I did. I said, don't feel bad about it, but I said, this time, I think I've got you. And it was like the Lord said to me, you think you've got me? And when he said that, the telephone rang. And I picked up the phone, and this man on the other end of the phone said, Robert, God told me to help you with your transportation. Here's what I thought. I thought he's going to give us a car, going to give a car to us. And that's good because we didn't have a car. We'd just given away both cars. At that time, we'd given away 9 cars. And we've given away many, many more cars by God's grace since then. But I thought, Lord, even if he gives a car, I've still got you. Because I just gave away 2 cars, all my money, and a house. So I've still got you. And I said, well, what'd the Lord tell you to do? This is what the guy on the phone said. He said, he told me to buy you an airplane. And he said, I'm going to pay for the maintenance and the fuel and the insurance and the hangar for the airplane. And he said, I've hired a pilot and I'm going to pay his salary. Here's his name and number, and you just call him and tell him where you want to go and when you want to go. And the Lord said, got you. Got you. Now, please hear my heart. This is not a message that give and you get an airplane. Okay, that's not what the point of this message, okay? Now listen to me very carefully. We gave the airplane away too. Okay, I don't have a plane. We gave that away too. That's not the best part of this testimony. The next day, I'm reading about Solomon. Do you remember what God said to Solomon? He said, ask anything you want and I'll give it to you. And I thought to myself, God, why would you say that to a person? And so I read about what happened the day before God said that to Solomon. And do you know what happened the day before? Solomon was inaugurated the king of Israel. And when he was inaugurated the king of Israel, it was tradition for the king to sacrifice 1 bull. Do you know how many Solomon sacrificed? 1,000 bulls. And I thought to myself, what an extravagant gift. And right when I thought that, here's what the Lord said to me. I only say to extravagant givers, ask anything you want. I would never say that to a selfish person because I can't trust selfish people. But I can trust givers. Now, I'm not even thinking that Debbie and I just gave away everything. I'm not even thinking about that. But all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit said to me, ask. Ask anything you want. And I knew immediately what I wanted. Because you have to understand that before I got saved, Debbie and I got married before I got saved. And I had been a very immoral person. And in the back of my mind, I believed that when she found out, she would leave me and I'd lose my marriage. And so I said to the Lord that day, Lord, I want for Debbie and I to be passionately in love for the rest of our lives. And this year we celebrate 34 years of marriage. That's better than an airplane. It's better than an airplane. Now let me tell you the last point, all right? Here's the last point. The tithe must be first. The tithe must be first. Now we've talked about the firstborn. We've talked about first fruits. The tithe must be first. Let me show you a scripture. Leviticus 27 verse 30 says, "And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's." Okay, that's that same Hebrew phrase, belongs to God. The tithe belongs to God. It is holy to the Lord. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say that you own a company, and it's a landscape company. Your company puts in trees and plants and flowers and things like that for people's houses. And so I call you and say, listen, I want to put some landscaping around my house. And you come out and you give me a bid and you say, okay, this is how much my materials will be. This is how much the trees and the flowers and the bushes and all that will be. This is how much my labor will be. And my profit will be $1,000, okay? And I agree to that. So at the end of the job, I pay for all of your materials, I pay for all of your labor, and then I give you $1,000. In other words, I give you 10 $100 bills. You have 10 $100 bills in your hand, okay? Now let me just ask you two questions, all right? You have $1,000 in your hand. The tithe is 10%, so it's real simple. So you have $1,000. So here are the two questions. Number one, how much is the tithe? How much is it? $100, right? You have $1,000, it's $100. And you have 10 $100 bills in your hand. Okay, here's the second question. Which one is the tithe? It's the first one. But how do you know which one's the first one? Okay, it's very simple. Listen, it's the first one that leaves your hand. It's the first one that leaves your account. That's how you know. See, if you take these 10 $100 bills and you say, okay, I'm going to set aside some for the house, some for the car, some for groceries, some for savings, and God, here's your part. Here's what's left over. Listen to me very carefully. God doesn't accept it. He does not accept leftovers because He's the first. He's the best. And actually, if you think about it, it's the first one that has the blessing on it. You gave the first one to the house. And can I tell you something? Your house does not have the power to bless your finances. But God does. So here's what we do when we get paid. We take the first 10% and we bring it to the house of God. And we say, Lord, I'm returning what belongs to you to the house of God. And then we bring it to the house of God, and then we pay the rest. And the other 9 now have a blessing on them. Now, here's the way I do it. I get paid on the 15th and the 30th, and it's direct deposit. So on the 15th and the 30th of every month, it magically appears, in my account. There's my paycheck. It's there. Here's what I do. On those days while I'm having my quiet time, I go online and I actually send the tithe to the church online. I do it through the bank immediately. So the first money that leaves my account goes to church. Now, I felt like the Lord has always told me to say this when I share this, and I don't say it to brag, but I do say it to challenge some people. For 30 years now, Debbie and I double tithe. So that we give 20% to the church right off the top, gross income, and then we give over and above that to missionaries and things like that. So immediately 20% goes out. So the tithe goes out. But I want you to understand, I'm not legalistic about this. In other words, let's just say that one morning it's the 15th and I have an early morning meeting, and I get up and I shower real quickly and I kind of run out the door and I go do my meetings. I'm gone all day, and then I come home and I remember, it's the 15th. I didn't give that, the tithe. And so I go in and I notice that Debbie has gone to the grocery store that day. Let's say she went to SM Supermart, all right, okay? So she goes to the grocery store. I don't go to her and say, oh, that's great, honey, we're cursed now. The first money that went out of our account went to, the grocery store, so now we're cursed for the next 2 weeks. Listen, I'm not legalistic about it. I want you to understand something. I don't think God's legalistic either. I think God looks at your heart. But I'm asking you today a very serious question. In your heart, is God first? Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Okay, a very simple question. Where's your treasure? Because if your treasure is in this church, in the house of God, then that's where your heart is. But there are a lot of people that say, my heart's in the church, but the treasure's not there. Again, listen to me. Don't get mad at me. I didn't say this. I didn't say it. It's Matthew 6. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.